Ooh, ooh. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play It Painted Live. You can hear my compressor going immediately. Sorry for the late start again. This week's excuse, my wife forgot again. A very busy time for us here in our household, and she forgot. And she was just so busy, I didn't really feel like bringing it up as yet another thing going on. Trying to be a little more supportive right now with everything that's going on, and just real life stuff. So, anyway, but when she did actually realize that tonight was the night, she graciously said, "Hey, go ahead and get to work. Do what you got to do." And I totally appreciate that. So, just the fact that she's been working for the past week and a half on just getting our house ready for stuff. This summer has been a very tough one already. And that thing's not going to shut up, is it? So let's, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to do some very, very, very fast airbrushing here. Not even going to wear my gloves. I just want to do a quick clean on a needle. And then we're going to get to it. And I'll show you what we will be working on tonight. I think it's going to be a fun one. The show is called Wrath of Cons. We're going to talk about the conventions that are happening over the next 2 weeks, and it is kind of Wrath of Cons because as much as I love conventions, these two big ones right next to each other are gonna be a killer, and that's just the way it worked out this year. So and it doesn't just affect the guys that do gaming like me. This affects the cosplayers. This affects folks that are in that sort of convention circuit. Okay, so anyway, let me show you what we've got going on here. So tonight, we're going to be painting this model, and this model is Eve from Anima Tactics. I'm actually going to turn that way. There we go. So this is Eve from Anima Tactics. You can see I kind of have a Zenithal Prime going on her. And so I'm actually going to explain what I did, and I'll show you a little bit of it because I screwed up here on the sword, and I need to fix that. So, and I got her on a Tau Ceti base, by the way, from Secret Weapon. And then we'll go into what the color scheme is of this model. So I really needed to paint something fun because that's the only thing that's been keeping me sane lately with work and real life stuff, and even the con stuff has kind of got me on edge recently. And so I really need to paint something that I'm really going to enjoy. And if you ask me, what line would I paint for absolute joy? It's going to be Anima Tactics every time. It's one of the reasons why I'm so sad about Anima Tactics being discontinued is the miniatures are top notch, and they, for me, are the most fun miniatures to paint without a doubt. There's some great miniatures out there today, but considering how long this line has been around and just the superb quality of these miniatures is just amazing. Anyway, so this is Eve from Anima Tactics, and I am going to do a little work on her. So yeah, most of you guys know that I usually do like zenithal priming, and typically I would start with a black primer, then a gray primer, and then a white primer, right? That's what most people do. But lately I've been having a problem with the Vallejo black primer. It's just not sticking well enough, and it's coming off, and it's taken all my wonderful work off with it. And it is notably the black. And the reason why, and I've been thinking about this today, is this is a black primer, a black PVA primer that we're trying to go direct to metal on, and that's just, from a paint standpoint, that's a very difficult thing to do. The gray primers, the white primers are a little bit better. They're actually a little stickier. They've got some pigment, they've got some toughness to them. The black PVA primer does not. That said, black spray primer is fantastic for metal models. Black spray primer is fantastic. In fact, I would recommend black P3, or I've been using Duplicolor sandable primer, which is almost the same thing. And I say almost, okay? So there's a lot of people out there that say that primer is primer, who cares? Put it on, paint is paint is paint. That's not exactly true. Now, if you're talking about Duplicolor primer against P3 black primer, this is just my, and I haven't looked at formulation. I don't have access to that information. But from what I can see, the liquid paint themselves between Duplicolor sandable primer and P3 black primer is pretty much the same. Spraying that is well, the liquid performs the same once it's dry, and that's an important distinction that I make here. I do feel that the properties of the primer, the adhesion properties of both primers, and the oh shoot, there we go. I gotta cut that anyway. The adhesion properties of the primers are probably the same. The hiding properties of the primer are probably about the same. But what's different, I've noticed, is that Duplicolor sandable primer sprays faster, meaning there's more paint coming out when you squeeze down on the nozzle, when you press down on the nozzle versus P3. And that has to do with the paint to propellant ratio in the can. So while the liquid is probably the same, I think one of the optimizations that occurs is and they're probably bottled in the exact same factory, because I mean the nozzles are the same, the cans are very similar, the paint seems almost identical, but yeah, the propellant load is different, and that does make a difference. That means if you're spraying miniatures, you don't really want a thick, fast layer of primer to come out. You kind of want it to come out nice and soft. You want it to cover well, but you don't want it to fill or obscure details. That's a very different thing than a sandable automotive primer. Even though the liquid is the same, you want a sandable automotive primer to build some mill thickness, to build a little toughness so that you can sand it, you can work with it. So while I believe that the two products are virtually interchangeable, you may want to back off just a hair more when you're working with Duplicolor sandable primer. Anyway, I'm not using any of that right here. I just thought I would go into that diatribe to show you that the Vallejo sprayable PVA primer is not working for me on metal models right now. And I had some success with it before, but it's not really working out so well right now. So anyways, here's what I'm doing these days, is I'm now spraying with their gray primer, which is pretty white in color. And then I'll just go through, and instead of spraying black primer, because I need to get back down to black and back up to gray, it's kind of weird, I will actually spray black ink to get it black. So let me show you how I'm doing that on this sword here. So I need to just do a little tweak to the sword. Got my airbrush ready to go. I'm just going to do a couple of drops of black ink directly into the airbrush. I don't need to thin it. And I'm just doing that to put a little pigment. I mean, when you do apex priming, zenithal priming, or whatever you want to call it, you don't need to get 3 primers down there. The first primer is actually doing the job of the priming. What you are trying to do is you're just trying to get your colors, your shadows, and your highlights in. I have just having a leak here with the nozzle. Let me take this off real quick. Yeah, a little bit of a technical difficulty here. Whoa. Yeah, these two guys are stuck together. Wow, this is a tough nut to crack. Hold on. Maybe. I just need to get a little cleaning on them, then I can move on. Yeah, I think I gotta I got a little paint back there, so it's kind of messed up my nozzle a little bit. So just bear with, guys. Sorry about the delay here. Yeah, I'm still clogged, but so I'm just gonna do a little. So you just spray the black ink on there, and then there you go. So it's like having a black primer go down. Okay, and then now it's just like your Apex priming before. You just go with a gray and then a white. And the only thing I'm doing here is I'm correcting where the gray and the white go. And I really have to clean out I'm gonna have to clean out the nozzle here, because yeah, I got having some atomization issues with the airbrush. Not a big deal. I'm only spraying the black. I'm not gonna spray any of the primary colors, because tonight we just want to do brush painting. Can't believe I cannot get this to I can't get my tip guard off. It's really on there. Wow, that's really on there. I may have to use a pair of pliers to get this off. Okay, so if you're just tuning in, welcome to Play It Painted Live. There we go, got it. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting. Tonight, I'm painting Eve from Anima Tactics, but I'm going to paint her like a Relic Knights model. Okay, so that's one of the things that has been kind of a fun little novelty thing that our group here in Lake Forest has been doing with our Relic Knights games is, so we play Relic Knights a lot. And we like as much as we like the miniatures and all that, we also like the idea of using other Ninja Division miniatures to represent things, because there is actually, from an appearance standpoint, there's good crossover. And if you ask me, Cypher Studios makes some of the best metal miniatures ever made for miniature gaming. That's just my opinion. I love painting this stuff. I love working with it. I think it's beautiful. Their games are pretty good. Relic Knights is a fantastic game. And you know, with Cypher kind of falling by the wayside, sadly, we've been using the miniatures for Relic Knights. Okay, so Relic Knights has a lot of different anime themes, and that works out really well for Anima Tactics in particular, but also Eldorado. I mean, you can use some Eldorado miniatures for Relic Knights and have some reasonable crossover there. Okay, so let me just see how alcohol is going through my airbrush. That's fantastic. Okay, so now we can apply the gray and the white. Now I can apply primer if I want, or I can just apply gray. I'm lazy. I'm going to apply primer. So I'm just going to do a couple drops of gray primer here. And on this sword, I'm going to cover a fair bit of this sword. Kind of radially, but I want to catch the middle there. It's kind of the important part. It's that middle line. There we go. And I'm going to put There you go. So you can see the middle part of the blade there. Run a quick solvent through. Again, I just use regular denatured alcohol for this kind of work. And that does the trick. You can also use Windex. You can even use rubbing alcohol to do this kind of stuff. Denatured alcohol is nice because you can just buy a big old can of it at the Home Depot or whatever. Okay. And now all you got to do is I'm just going to basically dot a little bit of white there. And instead of using primer, I'm just going to use white from Vallejo Model Air. And this is literally just going to be a little spit in the, it's one little tiny little deal. I can turn my pressure down, but I'm actually at a decent pressure right now. So I think I can just kind of like that. Okay. I'm going to do a little bit more lighting on the sword. There we go. There we go. Okay. Nice. So you get a little non-metallic effect there without really doing anything. Just placing the shading at the right spots. Okay. All right. So this is just looking pretty good. Okay. I'm just about ready to turn this off. I'm actually going to give her a little more white here on the face and the rest of it. And a little splotch of white there. There we go. Okay. Now let's clear out my airbrush. And I can turn it off, and we don't have to deal with the noisy compressor for the rest of the evening. We can just do our painting. Okay, I'm going to work on some techniques that I'm still sort of kind of getting down. So that's a cool thing to do with this show, especially when you're working on just a single miniature, and it's your miniature, so you can feel free to do whatever you want. If you don't like it, you strip it down, you start all over. But we'll see. Part of the fun, right? So once again, if you're just joining us, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting or what you should be painting. Tonight's model, Eve from Anima Tactics. I'm going to be painting her a specific way. So if you guys know the Eve character from Anima Tactics and you know her artwork, she's a pretty striking model. She has red hair, and then most of her outfit is entirely black, and that's because she's from Azure Alliance. So there's a lot of prowlers, basically rogues, a lot of like ninja type characters in the Azure Alliance. And so a lot of the characters in Azure Alliance are primarily wearing black. I'm going to go the opposite way with her, actually, because I'm going to use her for Relic Knights. And, you might be thinking, well, that would be kind of cool, given that she's kind of ninja-like, to use her as a Suspect 7 model. And sure, you can use her as a Suspect 7 model. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, I would think more people would be inclined to use her as a Suspect 7 model versus what I'm about to propose. And that would make perfect sense. It actually makes a little bit more sense until you give this a little bit more thought here. So anyway, I am going to be using this model as my proxy Isabeau Durand. So not Dark Space Isabeau, but Isabeau Durand from Shattered Sword. And Isabeau Durand is a paladin character. So the exact opposite, essentially, versus the versus Suspect 7. So we're going from Ninja to Paladin. Okay, so, and I kind of got to that point for a couple different reasons. I'm going to turn this off real quick. And, you know, one of the easiest reasons to point out is, well, she's a, you know, kind of a warrior lady holding a sword, right? That matches the Isabeau Duran description. Well, yes, that does. But then also the flowing hair. And then when you look a little closely at this outfit, it actually bears some striking morphology similarities to what Isabeau is wearing. So I thought, hey, let's try something different. I probably, you know, if I was painting her for Anima, I probably wouldn't paint her all black anyway. There's just too much cool detail on this model to do that. And I want to do something different. So I'm thinking, hey, why don't I just go ahead and do her white? And I'm going to do not just do her white. I'm going to do kind of like a what we're calling a moonlit white, which is going to have some really it's going to have some really deep shadows to it, like kind of like she's half cloaked in darkness. But hopefully, you're still going to see white. You may see some tinges of other colors in there, but hopefully and ultimately, what I want you to see is that she's wearing a form of white. So Jesse Whittington, welcome to the show. I'm working on Scorn Pain Givers. Sounds cool. It's been a while since I've looked at Chaos, so I don't know if when you say Pain Givers, I don't know if that's a 40K Scorn unit or a Fantasy Scorn unit, or if it's just a Demon unit and thus applicable to both systems. So, but either way, very cool aesthetic. All right. And I got to go for the mandatory first cookie of the evening and a Diet Coke. So anyways, if you're just joining the show, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting. I'm going to talk with my mouth full a little bit. And if it really bothers you guys, just hit thumbs down. Or do whatever you need to do. Also cool. I do appreciate you guys tuning in. And I'm going to try not to waste too much of your time. But this is the model. Oh, I'm sorry. Why did I think corn? Yeah, Scorn Pain Givers. Hordes, yeah. What am I thinking? I'm brain dead. I'm sorry, dude. Hordes is also something that I'm not terribly familiar with. I did paint a Scorn starter at one point. Now it's kind of cool. Little Cyclops guys and the obviously the giant elephant things are awesome. So gotta like that. So anyways, so here's the model again. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start applying little tinges and little shadows to this model. But before we do that, I want to give her a white outline. In other words, I want to hit all sharp edges with a white, but I'm not going to be terribly precise with it. And I'll show you, I'll demonstrate this in a moment here. Need to get my paintbrushes ready. Sometimes you have too many paintbrushes and you forget. Okay, there's that. It's good. And there we go. Okay, everybody's here. The whole cast is here. All right. Too many tabletop games. It's all good. Yeah. I had a brief stint through Privateer Press stuff. Had a blast painting stuff like their jacks and stuff. And I'll admit, the one model from Privateer Press that I really still bugging me that I've never painted, and I probably will get around to painting at some point, is the Croak Hunter. I love the Croak Hunter model. Every time I see someone painted a Croak Hunter, I was like, oh my god, I need to paint one. Or 5. I love those Croak Hunters. They're cool. But yeah, I paint a lot of ret. I actually have a pirate army, a mercenary pirate army for Warmahordes on eBay right now. It's currently at 118 or something like that. So if you're interested, go have a look at it. I want to say it's somewhere around the 25, 30 points. It's all metal. It's not a good build, but there are 4 warjacks in it. So more than likely, whoever's going to buy this isn't going to run it the idiotic way I did. They're probably going to put a better caster on that list, or probably divide it up into a couple of different lists. All right, so now I'm going to take some white. Actually, I want to take foundation white. So not just regular white. I'm going to take foundation white. They do look badass. I think you're talking about croak hunters still, right? Croak hunters look amazing. Love croak hunters. So I'm going to take a little bit of this foundation white. I'm going to thin it a lot because foundation white is very, very thick paint. Then I'm going to mix it. Make sure to get it nice and thin and smooth. Okay. So, and I'm going to do something that a year ago I would have never done. Cool, my son's looking at Mercs. Yeah. I ended up trading some Deep Wars stuff for a pirate army. I got a pirate army, added a couple of models to it, painted it up because that was my main goal. Is I really wanted to have some fun and paint pirates and stuff. And their warjacks are awesome. The Buccaneer and the I had a freebooter. I had the Mariner, the Buccaneer. I took a Vanguard too. I'm not really sure why I did that, but yeah. So I put some warjacks on it and had sea dogs and all that stuff. Painted it all up. Had like four of their characters. And I put that, and it was a Fiona the Blacklist. And so, you read a little bit online, and the first thing they tell you about Fiona the Black is, well, she's not, she's not good at this and this and this. And I looked at my build, and I'm like, oh, okay, so I built her completely wrong. But whatever. So I played like 2 games with it, and then moved on. Had a sizable Ret army and broke it up into bits, and I still have kind of like a Ron tier 3 going on. I probably sell the Kalissa with the warjacks and stuff. Okay, so now I'm just gonna take that white, and I'm gonna do just the lightest little dry brush, and I mean light, like light dry brush. You probably won't even pick this up on camera, but all I'm really trying to do is just get a little bit of a traced edge from, say, the transitions on the blade here, and that does give the model just a little bit more depth to it. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So just real light there. I'll do this side of it, and then I'll show you. I don't know if it'll pick up on camera, but all that is just taking a white line and sort of connecting the dots there. Don't sell your stuff before we can get a game in. Hey, what's up, Tin Man? Yeah, I'm probably gonna keep Ron. Probably gonna keep Ron because that was the first Warcaster I started with, and I really like Mittens. I think Mittens are hilarious. And they also double as a Blood Bowl team for me. So, and I named them Los Pantalones Fantásticos. So they're not going anywhere. The Los Pantalones are going to stay. So they'll see action with Blood Bowl, and then maybe occasionally, maybe we could do a once a year thing, Tin Man. Maybe you and I can get together and play a Warmahordes game just for fun, and I'll break out the mittens at that point. I am having a crazy summer sale though on all my miniatures and stuff that I'm not using, and it's because my wife and I are doing a lot of renovation around here, and so we need to clear space. We're going to get rid of a lot of stuff, and that includes miniatures. And I have lots and lots of miniatures that could see a little bit more action, you know. Okay, let me give this one more. Again, very, very fine dry brush here. And then we'll get to the shading parts. It's funny, but painting infinity models has kind of taught me how to work with this kind of intricacies. And the details are much bigger on anima models, so it's easier. But I can apply some learnings from infinity, painting infinity, back to this line, and I love this line. All right. There we go. Okay, so she's looking pretty good. Again, she should just look totally grayscale to you. But now what we need to do is we're actually going to give her some shadow. Okay, so we want to give her some shadow, and I do this in a very strange way these days. And I like to do it this way because it's just smoother and it's easier to control. So one of my goals my painting goals in this past year was to get much better with glazes. Okay, so that's what I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of experimentation with glazes, and I'm using this glazing here. I'm going to use glazing to kind of exaggerate shadow, and I'll show you that in a minute. Benjamin Davis, I am painting up the starter box set of Dust Tactics, The Americans, using actual World War II camo patterns. I will start the Nazis afterwards. That sounds fun, and I would love to play a WW2 themed game, especially in like a Weird War II game. You know, like what was that game by Grindhouse? That would be cool. What is that called? I forget the name of that game. AE World War II is interesting. I would consider maybe Dust. Bolt action is I'm terrified of, because if I ever started to play bolt action, I would be all about bolt action. And that's a terrifying thing to realize. All right, so anyway, we're going to take some glazed medium. Okay, and we're going to make just the thinnest thing ever. So equal parts glazed medium and water. And then I'm just going to take some black ink. And I could use black wash too. Sometimes the wash is actually pretty cool. So you could take Nuln Oil and do this. In fact, I may do that because that's actually safer. Inks are very powerful. Inks are very powerful tone to them. And I want this to be pretty subtle. Or I could even take like this Vallejo black wash. In fact, I'm going to do that. Let's do this. Let's do Vallejo black wash instead of Nuln Oil. And just like one drop of that. Okay. And let's mix that up. And I'm going to apply it similar to how I would apply a wash on the model. Okay. So let's mix that up. And you want this to be a pretty translucent layer here. So you may brush it out, brush it out and make sure you can see that's pretty clear, right? That's what you want. You don't want this, you're not trying to cover. You're really trying to make what I equate this to is you're taking a wash and giving yourself a crazy amount of control with it. Okay, so I'm going to apply that here on our top here. And you can see, there you go. It's, it's right now, it's just acting like it's a wash. So big whoop-de-doo, right? Good job. All you did was you made a wash, but there's a little more to this technique. I'm going to apply it here on this sword. You can see what it does on the sword. Remember how we hit that sword with the light dry brush? Here's what it's doing. There. Whoa, focus. You can see it. There, that's what it's doing. It's actually, it's blending everything together, but it's allowing that highlight to transmit through. And so you've got a really nicely lit effect there. Okay. So I'm going to run this as a preliminary wash over the entire model. But because it's a glaze, you can keep layering it up to your desire. You can even push the glaze into areas that you want a lot more shadow. And you can even brush it off areas where you want no shadow. So it's kind of like a wash, but you're getting much better control out of it. And it is very opaque. Not very opaque, it's very translucent. So like if you were to take Nuln Oil and do this model would look a lot blacker. In order to get the same effect out of a Nuln Oil, you'd have to do several layers of this glaze, and you wouldn't be able to drag the glaze around and focus it quite the same way you can do with this. Okay. So, and I'm purposely avoiding the face and the hair, because I have, again, this is going to be Isabeau Duran, so green hair and very fair skin. So there's no need to do this type of thing there. Okay. And I'm going to continue to move that off. And I'm just going to paint in a very thin layer here on the base so you can see the detail of the base. Cool. Okay. So far, so good, right? Haven't done anything terribly novel just yet. I'm actually going to remove a little bit of this. Because again, we're just trying to give shadow. All right. So now we want to start applying. We're going to do another tiny little highlight over this model. I'm going to let this glaze dry a bit. So let's give that a minute to dry. Let's see. Okay, some discussion here about dust tactics. Rather simple, nothing like 40k or Wormhordes. Play painted grindhouse games. Incursion. Pack somewhere and we'll go get after dust. Yeah, Incursion sounds cool. It seemed expensive because you had to buy the board game, and then if you wanted miniatures, you had to buy them separately. But it's a cool theme, and so that's pretty awesome. All right, so let me take another sip here and bite into a cookie while I'll give this a minute to dry. Mm-hmm. And I want to do another Now I could do a white glaze over this, and I probably will, to highlight it up, because this is a pretty good, that right there is a pretty good base for white and blue and all that. So here's the plan based on Isabeau Durand. Green hair, this blade will remain kind of that non-metallic silver. This main part of the body here will be white, but I believe Isabeau has kind of white and blue shoulder pads. So I'm going to do the scale armor in a blue, and then all the details around her neck, the little ascot will be blue, and then all the cloak will be blue as well. Okay, and I'm going to use glazes. I'm just going to primarily use glazes to do this because I want, again, I want to kind of keep this like grayscale, almost like night lit to the model. I think it's cool, but let's see how that goes. So anyways, the next step then is we are going to make, actually, I think I can just, yeah, I'll just work on the flesh while the glaze is drying here. So let's do that. So let's do our standard eyes and face. This is the tedious part of the painting. I'm going to bring the camera in a little tighter here. So, and then this is where I can easily lose my train of thought. So if you guys want the conversation to go one way or the other, feel free to comment or ask questions or anything like that. The ramble tonight is going to be about convention season, which for me is drawing to a close. And we've got two really big conventions coming up. This weekend is Anime Expo in Los Angeles. It's going to be at the LA Convention Center, and it's 4th of July weekend. So it's kind of, Anime Expo is kind of a difficult show for me. It's always been one historically because I've always had plans with my family during July 4th. So when I worked Anime Expo, I would always work the days that weren't July 4th, spend July 4th with my family, and then the days that I worked at Anime Expo, I would really go hard. You know, I'd really go all day long and just crank through my game demos or crank through any of the gaming activities because, you know, I wanted to make it worth my while. Anime Expo has in excess of about 60,000 attendees every year, and these are people that seldom have exposure to miniature gaming, miniature painting, and that kind of stuff. And with anime-themed games from Ninja Division, like SDE, Super Dungeon Explorer, Relic Knights, it's a very cool opportunity to get these types of games in front of an audience that understands the references, that is all about the same fandom from which these games have been designed. So yeah, Anime Expo is one of the busiest conventions historically for our group Play It Painted. It's always the one that just gets a crazy amount of traffic. Even in open gaming, previous years, we've always had really good traffic. We had a steady flow of people in. And it does pretty well. You know, the reception, it's received very well. So that's really, from a gaming demo point of view, that is the busiest convention we work all year long, which is crazy if you consider the amount of like LA strategic cons that we work, Kingdom Con, WonderCon, Comic-con, which I'll get to in a minute. When you consider that amount, the amount of traffic that we see from both the gaming crowd and the, you know, maybe atypical gaming crowd, that's saying a lot about Anime Expo, and it's also saying a lot about, you know, the potential opportunities for miniature gaming in general, because, you know, a lot of people in miniature gaming say, and this is very true actually, that it's a slow growth market. For the most part, you get new miniature gamers in every year, but it's not a huge percentage. And that influx of gamers are very likely to new gamers are very likely to leave, within their first 12 to 24 months of starting the hobby, because it is a very comprehensive hobby. For one, especially if you're playing a bigger game like a GW game, that's a lot of money investment and it's a lot of time. And then you have the other aspects too of like, when you run into that competitive gamer and you decide, oh, well, this really isn't for me. I wanted to have fun and just goof off. I'm noticing that, this is a more hardcore group around me or in my particular area. So you get stuff like that. All right. But what I'm getting at, though, is that for an anime crowd, a comic crowd, and I've been saying this for years, that's really the crowd, the untapped crowd for miniature gaming, right? And I'll put it to you this way. If you consider miniature gaming, miniature painting, especially painting like anime themed models like the one I'm painting right now, or say a Relic Knights miniature or a Takahashi miniature, this isn't terribly different from the guys that paint the, vinyl models. It's not terribly different. The scale is much smaller, but it's not terribly different. It's not terribly different from a modeling standpoint to the guys that do, Gunpla and that kind of stuff. It's different, but a lot of the skill sets are the same. In fact, I take it a step further and say even some of the same skill set that you use in hobby and painting, cosplayers will use. And that's interesting. So last week, I hopped on I was watching a Google Hangout of a cosplayer that I follow on Instagram, and she was doing hobby stuff for her cosplay. And it's like, a lot of the stuff that they talk about is similar stuff to what we talk about. Painting things, where to get supplies, what are some of the best techniques to use, what are your personal preferences when you're working with stuff. So it was really cool, and it was great to engage her. Her name, by the way, is Vert Vixen. She's actually a local cosplayer to me. I ran into her, I think, WonderCon a couple years ago or whatever, and she's just really cool lady. And so we kind of, I followed her on Instagram, and I check out her cosplay, and she's kind of an up and coming cosplayer. It's pretty cool. But anyway, yeah. So I was on feed with her this past weekend, and there's again a lot of similarities. So really kind of cool. So I'm just right now doing the tedious eye. Thankfully, there's only one eye on this model. But I don't think think my eye is off. My eye is not working. Okay. Oz Comic-Con was decent, but not the best. Next year, I'm going to Comic-Con USA. Any good mini wargaming cons going on at the same time? Oh, you want to attend? Well, here's the thing. Comic-Con happens in Southern California. And if you want to go to a actual, like a gaming con, and you're in California around that time of year, you actually want to go to Northern California. You want to go check out something called the Bay Area Open. Now that is actually a wargaming convention, and it's a big tournament scene. That's put on by the guys over at Frontline Gaming. So Reese in that crowd. And that's really more of if you're going to a con for a tournament and for miniature gaming. Comic-Con is not a priority to attend from a gaming standpoint. It's just a thing to attend, sort of. It's more of an experience that as a nerd you're going to want to have before you die. You're not going to do a whole lot of serious gaming at Comic-Con. And if you are, quite frankly, and you're not, you're not local to Southern California, or you can't regularly get to Comic-Con, I would say if you spend more than a day or so gaming at Comic-Con, you might be missing out on some stuff. If you're local to California or whatever, go to Comic-Con, enjoy some gaming, but it's light gaming. It's not like gaming convention gaming. It's more like demos, maybe at the most a light tournament, that kind of thing. I'm having the roughest time trying to get this eye to work, which is weird. It's only one eye. It's usually way easier to paint one eye because you don't have to. Oh, geez. It's the white, actually. It's this white. It's giving me problems. But it's okay. We'll make it work. Oh, yeah. The white is definitely giving me problems. I'm going to have to start over. But yeah, go to Comic-Con for other reasons. If you're coming to the US and you want to play in gaming cons, obviously the big two are Adepticon and Gen Con. Adepticon being more of the tournament scene. If you want to get into competitive miniature war gaming. Gen Con, more the experience of the more panoramic experience. You get to see more new releases. You get to see a larger board gaming presence. It's also really cool too because you get the Comic-Con cosplay presence at Gen Con as well. So Gen Con is an absolute must if you're a gamer and you're coming to the United States. Absolutely Gen Con. And then based on your preferences, then you can start to look at other cons like Adepticon. You can look at Comic-Con. You can look at even Dragon Con. There's so many cons in the U.S. It's especially like in the California area. There's just so many. There's too many, if you ask me. Too many. When I was in my peak of activity as a gaming volunteer, I was a henchman for Weird Miniatures. When I was in the peak, I think I attended something like 12 to 14 conventions that year. I know some guys that do 24 conventions a year, but I did 14 at my peak, and I'm down to like 5 or 6 right now. And I want that to continue to go down, honestly. I'm hoping next year that I do like 2 to 3 cons, and that's about it. So, because it's just too much. I'll just be honest with you guys. It's just too much. Comic-Con is a fantastic experience the first couple of times you do it, especially the perfect storm I had going, where open gaming was a thing in the mezzanine, right above the convention hall. That was a beautiful thing, and this year onward, that's no longer going to be the case, and that makes me sad. But so gaming is being moved to the Hyatt for Comic-Con. Some people like that. I personally hate it, and I hate it because I want to work Comic-Con because I want to reach out to non-gamers, right? I want people to stumble into that area as a refuge from the crazy convention hall, and I want them to find solace in gaming, and I want them to have an experience that they didn't expect that they would be having at Comic-Con. With them moved to the Hyatt, that means going to gaming is a very deliberate thing. You can't just stumble into the Hyatt. The Hyatt is a good, I did the math. It's almost a half mile, even though it's right next to the convention center. It's almost a half mile from the main convention hall, which is just insanity. So no casual is going to go stumble over there. what you'll have is you'll have people that go to Comic-Con, but they want to play in a Magic tournament, or they want to play Japanime games, or they want to play something specific, werewolf, something like that. But those are already gamers, and gamers already know what games are out there, and those gamers already kind of know, they're already kind of savvy on miniature games. Now, some of them eventually will come over and try your game out, but that, to me, that reduces Comic-Con into being pretty much no more, from a gaming ambassador standpoint, it reduces it to no more an experience than, if I were working, say, Kingdom Con, or I were working, any other local gaming dedicated con. I came to work Comic-Con because I wanted to work a large con that didn't have, that wasn't primarily associated with gaming. I think it's more interesting. I think for me, it's more rewarding to give people their first taste of miniature gaming. And with them moving to the Hyatt, it's sort of like, well, the people that are going to go over there are already kind of in the know anyway. So you might get a couple of game demos in for them, but ultimately there's thousands of people that will not stumble into your area the way it was in years past. And I really loved that in years past. I really loved, having the Penny Arcade guys up there, or, having Grant Imhara come up there and play tabletop miniature games with us. And that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen these days, and that makes me sad. So yeah, Comic-Con is it's fun. It's just I will admit that I'm disappointed in being moved over to the hotel side, because we're just going to miss the opportunities that I really like, which is, reaching out to people who've never picked up a miniature before, who didn't even know that you could paint these things, who didn't even know that that was a hobby. I mean, I brought my paints to Comic-Con. I would do painting for people and answer questions about painting, and I thought that was fantastic. So I don't know. We'll see how this year goes, but I'm just bummed by it. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that it's a great experience. I hope that we get good traffic, and for me, the con is worth it if we run into people that have never touched or even knew about these types of games before, and they walk away and go, when I get home, I want to try that out. I want to try out some of these miniature games, because that was fun, and that sounded interesting. So I don't know. If you think I'm being a little too down about this, let me know in the comments. Some people were saying that they preferred being moved because then you have a nice secured area off-site where the gamers will congregate, and I guess that's okay. I mean, if your goal is just to kind of entertain the established gaming crowd, I can see where you're coming from there, but that's not my goal. So I'm bummed about it, and I'm bummed too because that's my major goal is gone, and Comic-Con is a logistical nightmare. It's a pretty easy show to run from a game demo standpoint, because you don't get as many demos as you do at, say, Anime Expo. Anime Expo, you're going all day. Comic-Con, you at least get breaks when people go. They go to panels. They go. There's a number of things that it's just a lighter show. Oops, I totally did that wrong. So I'm just painting in some flesh right now while that glaze is still drying. Once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting. Tonight we're painting Eve from Anima Tactics, but I'm painting her a la Isabeau Duran from Relic Knights, because I'm going to use her for that. I would actually use Eve for Anima, except I got rid of all my Azure Alliance stuff. So I don't really have a spot for her unless I run a generic, unless I run a generic dark list, but I'm not going to do that. So anyways, that's my gripe about Comic-Con. I hope it's still, I know I'll still have fun, but it does make me consider, like, next year, would it be better just to buy my own ticket and enjoy it for a couple of days and not have to deal with the logistics of hotel and parking and all that stuff? Because that stuff, unless you're mooching off people, that stuff can cost you thousands of dollars. Just getting hotel, just getting parking, just feeding yourself for 5 days, that can cost you thousands. Usually for me, yeah, it runs over $1,000 each year between hotel, parking, all that stuff, which isn't horrible, but that's money. That's money gone. And if it's no longer worth the money that you're spending on it, you're not going to do it anymore, right? So I'm just trying to cut this eyeball right so that she doesn't look like she's a raccoon. And I think I just did it. I think I got it right. There we go. Okay. So now let's take that deep skin tone. We're going to mix a little basic skin tone in it, and I'm going to start applying some highlights to the flesh. The idea is I can finish the flesh before we move on to the rest of the model. Now the question for me is, I need to figure out if there's any more flesh that I'm missing that I should be painting here. And I don't think so. I think it's just that, and the hands and the face, right? I think this model is actually has a little bit more covered up than the regular Isabeau does, in fact. I don't know that. Well, actually, no, that is flesh. I gotta paint that in. She does have some thigh working here. Scott Williams working on SDE Caverns of Roxor. Nice. That's a fun set. I painted that 3 or 4 times on commission and whatnot. If you have an airbrush, painting the Fireflow denizens from that set is a joke, and you're done in probably an hour or so. An hour's worth of airbrushing, you can finish that just doing the fire effect on those minis. The Rock Top Gang is cool for that set. The heroes are really cool. I noticed that Link is kind of a smaller hero than most. Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, this thigh actually extends down. You could even have, since I'm painting her white, if I painted her all white, you could have like an Emma Frost thing going with this character. Pretty cool character. Let's get some basic skin tone mixed in. You could do light flesh, but that's okay. Basic skin tone's fine. Lord Draconum just been working on some superhero miniatures. Cool. Like night model stuff, or are you working on Chronoscope stuff? Maybe Pulp City? Let us know. I painted up those Reaper Chronoscope earlier this week. You guys might have caught the video I did on that, and the Judge Dredd thing. That was fun, man. I need to paint more superhero miniature stuff. The Black Cat and the Firestar. That was a cool model to paint. I had a lot of fun painting that. The coppery skin and mixing that with the lighting effects that you typically do on fire. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Let's do a little highlighting on the flesh here. But you know what I've got kind of in reserve here that I'm kind of holding for a rainy day when I really want to paint something fun is I have Anima Tactics Maria model. That's the model that's kind of like the puppeteer, and she's got the Grim Reaper on her base. It's a very powerful model in game, and it's just a fantastic miniature. I painted one before on commission, and I've always kind of wanted one for my own, and now I have one. I will probably put that together and use it for Relic Knights again. I just need to figure out what Relic Knights models I would want to use it for. Might make an interesting Royal Wrecker. You know, a little Grim Reaper Royal Wrecker model. Might be cool. Same base size. So, and I can paint it pink or orange or any of those Cersei colors that we all know and love. Could even do it white. That would be interesting. So right now, just... Ooh. That was a little more than I wanted, but that's okay. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of lipstick on this model, so you can see I'm just going to focus here on the face. See the face coming in there? She may still have a little too much black around the eyes, but that's okay. Well, let's see. Yeah, it's a little much. Let's cut it in a little bit more. Night models, Pulp City, and HeroClix. Cool. I saw some night models on Miniature Market clearance, and let me tell you, that was a very hard thing to walk away from. I really want to paint some night miniatures. But trying to save some money and because of all the renovation stuff, and trying to get some space. So I am on the sale here. I'm on the sale trail and selling stuff. It feels good to sell stuff because I'm never going to use that stuff. And it's painted well, and I had fun painting it. I had my fun painting it. And when I'm not heavily invested in a system, like for example, I'll play some Warma Hordes every now and then, but it's not my main game, you know, and I can understand you guys that it is your obsession, that is your main game. That's awesome. It's just not mine. So I am happy to paint stuff for those systems, and then just kind of move it along. Maybe play 1 or 2 games with it. Currently, I'm there with Wrath of Kings. I want to play more Wrath of Kings, but to date, it's not a main system for me, so I'm not pushing it all that hard. I need lipstick. I'm gonna paint in the lips just a little bit. These days, when I paint lips, I can do Sunset Red or I do Warlord Purple from Game Color. I had the entire day to paint. You bastard. You lucky bastard. I want to paint for a whole day. Instead, I'm getting ready for these cons. And, well, it is an interesting note that I'm not doing any painting prep for these cons. Because we're in the Soda Pop booth, the Ninja Division booth for Anime Expo, there's nothing for me to paint. I thought maybe Ninja Division might ask me to paint some of their demo kits, but they didn't ask me. So I guess they have, because they've got John on staff, and he's the creative director, and he's a super fast painter, and he has really high skill. So they don't really need me for that kind of stuff. But anyway, So I didn't need to do any painting or any prep for Anime Expo. For Comic-Con, I have, all the Forgotten King stuff that I've already painted. So there's really not much to do there. I might paint some additional terrain, but there's nothing striking out to me. All right, so just a little bit on the upper lip here. That was kind of clumsy. Now, I normally paint the lipstick in when I'm 1 to 2 layers from being done on the skin, and it's because it allows me to shape the lips as I'm painting. Only get the models you want to get. You're talking about the night stuff? Which case I agree. Yeah. I don't know that I really want to play Batman the game. I just want to paint some of the models. I just want to paint superhero models. It doesn't even have to be from Batman the game. I know Night Models does. They do some Marvel superheroes as well. All right, so final highlight here on the skin. I'll probably do 2 layers on this. Hey, always great to watch you. Hey, what's up, Daniel? Welcome to the show. Thanks for popping in. Hope you got some sleep. I know you had some insomnia earlier, and that's why you had that awesome 5-hour stream. I did not watch all of that, but I'll cue it up when I'm doing some more painting next week or so. I really think this is my last painting session of this week because of Anime Expo, and because coincidentally I also have family coming in. So there's just so much going on this time of year. It's almost like everybody, including work, decided this is the time of year where we do everything at once and try to kill people with the sheer amount of activity. So yeah, I got a lot going on, but I can't complain. It's all pretty good stuff. It's just really, really busy. The work stuff is really busy, but I'll tell you what, it's been more fulfilling lately, and it's good. And if I'm being totally honest here, my job wasn't as fulfilling as I thought it could be, and I was starting to feel that. And this is always busy season for us, and this has been so far it's been a crazy but kind of a hopeful busy season. I'm hoping from this busy season we can get at some of the resources that I felt we need at work, that our success will start to translate through, and we'll get the attention and resources that I feel we need. Why am I sounding like a work commercial right now? I have no idea, but I don't care because we're painting and it's for fun. So there's the face. Also, I haven't been doing many washes on flesh lately. I'm using more glazing techniques. So I'm highlighting with kind of these makeshift glazes, and the blends are nice. And as long as you keep a soft edge and a very thin layer, and you do it multiple times, it looks fantastic. Like that was a little too thick of a layer, so I'm going to have to feather that out a bit and actually physically move some of that paint over. There we go. Let's see how the semi-exposed cheek here on the back side is going. Managed to catch some sleep earlier. Stayed up to catch your stream. Been making some chain link fence. Thanks for watching what you did of my stream. I'm gonna watch more of it too. I love the longer stuff while I'm painting. It's one of the reasons why, you know, if you like Tin Man and you other guys out there that are doing YouTube videos, yes, you're gonna get more views on shorter videos. But there's a purpose to the longer streams, the longer videos, and that is because you just capture your hobby in a raw way, for one, and your viewers, like you'll have viewers like me that are looking for, hey, I want to put on a video that's going to last me at least a couple hours so I can do a painting session and listen to a ramble at the same time. So I really appreciate it when you guys do when you guys do extended sessions, or you just do hobby sessions, or even like vidcast stuff, like podcast type stuff. I like that too. Okay. That is a really weird angle, and it's going to require some touch up. That actually is making me consider doing a wash, at least on the legs. Not so much the face. The face looks pretty good, but I may do a wash on the legs, because there's just weird angles to the legs. It looks okay from the front, but from the back, that's weird. It just looks weird. There's just a cheek out there hanging out by itself. Okay, so anyways, she's looking pretty good so far, right? I think so. We'll see. Let's mount her on a stand like this, and let's get to work on blue. Well, before we do that, I actually want to paint in some of this here. Here we go. Because I didn't realize this, but she has kind of like ribbons coming out from her hands. Okay, cool. Okay, so now let's do that blue glaze that I was talking about. Well, I better head to bed myself. No work today, but work tomorrow. Good night, dude. Thanks for tuning in. As always appreciate your viewership. Steam Power TV, been doing the streams with Mr. Malorian, but it's more of a weekly show. That's awesome. Trying to get a new episode of Dice Rage Live going. We just got to get our schedules to line up. It is crazy that you got your schedules to line up when you did. I mean, you had you had guys from Europe, different parts of Europe, plus you, plus Cameron. That was just awesome. Love Dice Rage Live, man. You guys did a great show, and would like to see another episode. Cookie break here while I switch colors. And I'm going to mix up a glaze. All right. Now, so for the blue glaze, I need a dark I need kind of a dark blue to start. So I'm going to do a blue tone to start. What's the cookie of choice tonight? Good question. This is Snackwell's cream sandwich cookies. I had I had to do some traveling for work today, just local traveling and driving, and I stopped into a convenience store and picked it up. So they're cool. They're supposed to be Snackwells, but I looked at the nutrition stuff and it didn't look that different from like just picking up a pack of Nutter Butters or something. So I don't know. I have M&M sugar cookies. See, that's what I'm talking about. If we're gonna do cookies, we should do those kinds of cookies. I think I was lying to myself when I picked up Snackwells. I was like, oh, because I had I had the Nutter Butters right there, and I had the little Chips Ahoy thing, and I was like, meh, let's try these. They look small. I don't want to eat that much. Whatever. I have to look good in my cosplay stuff. I'm actually not doing much cosplay stuff. Definitely not doing any cosplay stuff for AX. For Comic-Con, I'm probably just going to do some standard steampunk stuff. No big deal. Okay, so here's our blue glaze. And this is cool, like navy color. I'll show you that. Look at that. Cool. And again, why couldn't I just wash these? Well, you could, but it doesn't look. The glazes allow you to really kind of control it where everything's going, and to do different looks. So for example, I'm starting here in the crevice, and note that there's actually a couple things going on there. There's blue parts and there's white parts, and they're right next to each other. And the one thing that the glaze allows me to do is, even if I do screw up a little bit, they blend. Everything's going to blend well. I'm going to give her like a blue tinge to the bloomers. She's got underwears going on here. So her underwears will have a little blue tinge to them. And I'm just going to apply this blue glaze over the model, and you just keep applying layers of it to build the color where you want it to go. And you never get like a totally opaque color in, which is interesting. So your lighting becomes very, very interesting looking. So you can see it there on the ascot and on the armor. And then when we cut, we're going to come back in and highlight some sharper lines in this. That's where you start to see more benefit to what this little technique, you'll start to see you'll start to see it pan out. It's looking pretty cool though. So yeah, so this is the busiest part of the con season, and it's actually going to be the end of my con season. There are a couple shows here and there left to go to, but I don't think I'm going to be working any more cons this season. I got to be honest with you, I'm pretty burned out. This con season was good in some ways, but with my new child and all that, it just got difficult to be away from family. And my wife was so cool about me being away and giving me my time, and she's just amazing. And she'll spend that time with our son, um, and she's got her priorities straight. She's got her head on straight, and that's and I'm looking at her going, yeah, I need to do that. Not just a sense of duty thing, but I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I get really sad now if I'm away from my family for too long. I've never. Uh, you can make fun of me all you want for that, but that's how I feel. I feel genuinely kind of sad when I can't be around my wife and my son these days. I'm very attached to them, um, and that's a good thing. And these gaming cons are fun for what they are. But the other thing there too is I feel like the past 4 years that I've been religiously going to conventions, I feel like I've achieved the penetration that we're going to get. And at this point, those gaming experiences are and the crowds are going to start to uh, you're going to start to just run into the same folks every year. You may get a few new folks, but it's diminishing returns. Just not as many um, that you can expect to get. Okay, so seeing that blue go down, kind of wild looking right now. I don't know if I'm going to keep this. We'll see. We'll see. I actually want it to go a little darker in the shaded areas, so I may actually tone this up a little bit. Let's actually give it some real color power here. So I'm going to put some ink in it. I have 3 kids, and it bugs me out when they're gone for the weekend. Yeah, it's a weird thing for me. I was at Kingdom Con earlier this year, and I'm glad I didn't stay overnight, because if I stayed overnight, I'd probably be super bummed about it. I'd get super drunk and out of my mind too, which is kind of fun. And I did that in previous years, but this year probably make me a little bit sad. The other thing I'd point out is I was overnight at Strategicon GameX, and that did actually make me sad. I think she needs more blue. You guys are just not getting much. You guys aren't really getting a good view here. I'm going to back this up so you guys can see. That's her. She looks pretty gray right now. Everything's looking pretty gray on her. Kind of cool. Now, the one downside to glazes is they take a long time to dry, so be ready for. And again, we're in the fun stuff right now. I'm not painting for speed or anything like that. I just want to mess around with this technique and learn what I can learn from it, because I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's looking pretty cool. Okay, so now I want to do a white glaze and parts in this model. So I'm going to do white glaze, and we're going to go, again, really thin on that, and just kind of let the color build where it needs to build. We got good shadow too. to have 3 teenagers. Time with them is precious. What's cool though is that my daughters have started painting with me. Hey, that's cool. Hey, what's up, Tori? Thanks for popping in. P3 Great Coat Gray is a great color for glazes. I used to use a lot of Great Coat Gray, actually. That is a great color, period. P3 has some really, really solid colors in their lineup. And Great Coat Gray, I believe that too, because especially a glaze that you would use to shadow a cool white, I could see that. That would be, I think, effective. All right. So let's make our little white glaze, and we're going to use that to highlight the white parts of the body here. All right. AX starts tomorrow. I hope people have fun. Yeah, I'm not going tomorrow. I'm going to be there Friday. But yeah, it's so you're, I know, Tori, you're going to Comic-Con with me, so you're which I totally appreciate, by the way. That's awesome. But yeah, you're no AX for you. You can't do the 2 weeks in a row is a lot to ask. Do you want anything from the Soda Pop booth, Tori? You want me to look for anything specific for you? I can't go like ninja shopping for you out on the floor because I just wouldn't really know what to do or how to handle that. But if you want something from the Soda Pop booth, I can totally do that for you. Just let me know. Okay, so white glaze. I'm just gonna start placing that down. There we go. Now that's nice. So I'm going to use this white glaze to oh, I really like that. I'm really liking that a lot. Sorry I missed on Tuesday. Yeah, no worries, man. I didn't even know if I was going to go there last night. But Jeff and Gareth wanted to learn Forgotten King. So that was cool. So I taught them Forgotten King. We played, and then we played some Relic Knights. And then there's some weird streak going on where all the new players are starting to kick our asses. So Gareth, we played a 3-way game with myself, Gareth, and Gareth's brother. And Garrett's brother, I lent him my black diamond, and me and Gareth we thought there was a point where we thought Gareth might win. I had gotten to 5 points. We thought I was going to win, and then his brother comes out of nowhere and lines up this crazy shot with one shot that ends up basically screwing me and Gareth at the same time. And that's what ultimately allowed him to win that game. So that's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. But yeah, no worries, man. It's cool. Oh, jeez. Gotta be careful. One of the things that I have to get used to with glazes is not, and now I usually dab off excess moisture, but even then, the glazes are so thin that they'll start to run and you just got to pick them up and move them. Pick them up and drag them across the point where you want them to end up. But she's looking pretty cool so far. Yeah, this stuff is really thin, which is great. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Nice thin glaze. I may actually do the center belt straps and stuff blue too, just to break up the white a little bit. So I'm going to I'll come back in and do some more blue detail on the model. But yeah, so Comic-Con should be good. We're gonna have to figure out logistics now that we're over in the Hyatt. I had it down pat when we were at the on the mezzanine, but now that we're on the Hyatt, it's we're gonna figure out. I've got to figure out like where's the best place to park. I got to figure out whether or not what I want to transport back and forth every day, which is going to be I believe it's going to be most of what I'm showing because I don't really want to leave stuff in the cage there this year. That's just one of the things I don't want to do. Okay, not sure what to get from Soda Pop right now. Will Soda Pop be at SDCC? Yeah. Oh no, Soda Pop will not be at SDCC. They do not have a booth there. But like if you wanted, any of the Relic Knight stuff that they'll have there at AX, we could pick that up for you. There, the model's starting to get a lot more. Starting to see a lot more details now on this model, which is cool. Yeah, that glaze is super thin now. The white glaze, super thin. So I'm painting this model almost entirely with glazes. Just some glazes and the zenithal priming technique. And the end result is this sort of hyper lighting effect on the model, which I like, actually. I think is really cool. Yep, I'm going to paint the belts blue. And the hilt of the sword, I'm not sure yet, but let's get in there with that blue. Then I can decide what I want to do with the hilt of the sword. Pretty cool Isabeau, anyway. I want some candy minis. Okay, we'll see what they got there. I think they'll have the Takawashi University candy. They may also have Candy Heart there. If they have Candy Heart, I'm going to buy one for me anyway because I sold my last Candy Heart, and that's a really cool miniature. There we go. So now we got that blue webbing breaking up the white here. Ooh, didn't want that. That was a little too much glaze on the arm. So yeah, a little bit of stress, a little bit of trepidation with regards to con season. But I think it'll be good. Overall, I'm still pretty excited about it. I'm particularly excited about AX. Comic-Con will be uh, fun as always and interesting. I'm thinking kind of want to go. Be cool if enough of us meet up and we can kind of paint the town red on Friday night. We'll see how that goes. Let's see. Do you think we can have a cooler under the table to keep snacks and food during the con? It might help. I don't know. I honestly don't know the Hyatt's at the mezzanine at Comic Con. That was no big deal at all. But what do you guys think? Cool? Cool? Not cool? I think she's looking pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know for sure, Tori, if that's if we're doing that or not. Uh, I don't think it would be that big of a problem, but because it's in the Hyatt, it's off site. I don't think there's a problem. I think there'd be a problem if we had like a crazy amount of alcohol down there or something. Um, and now I usually like if I want to drink, I'll have a flask on me and pretty discreet about it. But I think you're talking from a more practical standpoint. I want to have food with me. All right. You like the white hair? But I'm gonna give her green hair because it's Isabeau Durand. She has green hair. Sorry, I'm gonna cheat though and make the hair. Uh, it'll be green hair, but you'll see it's gonna be easy. What do you think? Cool, cool. Planning to make sandwiches daily, bring snacks and lots of water. That's a good idea. Since you're driving in, that's a good idea. I'm gonna brave some hotel food and spend some money on some other food. Okay, so I guess the hilt of the rapier. I guess I'm gonna go gold. So I'm gonna do yellow ochre on that. Wow, we're actually almost done here with this model. It's not a whole lot left to do, which is cool because we're just about at that 2-hour mark. So I'm just going to do some quick work here on the hilt. Just a little bit of, so this is pretty standard stuff for me. Yellow ochre on the hilt, and then you come back and wash it with sepia. So let's let that dry. Okay. Do I need any more white glaze to go down? Yellow right here. In there. Okay, cool. All right, so now we're going to do the green hair. This is pretty easy. I could wash it, just do Tan Green, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it a light green and then just wash it. And it's like the something like green hair. You can spend more time on it if it's, if you want to fade the hair out or blend it or whatever. For me, green hair just kind of stands out as green hair, so it's not that big a thing. The other thing I got to do is I got to find my light green. So a little bit of light green, base that. Playing around with your glaze techniques with the inks and loving the results. Yeah, it's really cool. I did it, I was working on that Infinity Joan commission, and the guy picked a League of Legends character. And when I looked at the picture of the League of Legends character, she looked like she was like moonlit, right? And so I was trying to figure out, okay, what color is her armor? Because at first glance, it looks like charcoal gray. But as you look at it, it has like tinges of purple. There's some areas of that armor that are green. This is Diana, by the way, if you want to know what I'm talking about. Go Google Diana from League of Legends and look at the artwork, because some of the artwork has her armor as being just charcoal gray. Some of it has it as being like purple, but they all kind of agree that it's like a toned gray purple, and some areas that are green, even some gold trim on one of them. But the key point there is that it was toned. It's not, you're not going to paint solid purple for her. So I wanted to get something that looked like a tone, but I wanted it to look very low lit, which is weird. So moonlit is what I'm calling it. It's a moonlit style of painting, and it allows you to get away with a darker, subtler color. But the glaze is where really you're controlling the shadows, where the shadows actually physically land, and you're also controlling your color build, because you keep applying glazes, layers and layers of glazes, until you get the tone that you need. So right now, like the tone on the cloak, because of the amount of layers I put down, looks opaque in some places, but it's pretty translucent. I got the Cersei starter kit. Minis are built but not yet painted. Going to work on painting them later. That's cool. Cersei starter kit is, from a gameplay standpoint, it does take some getting used to. The key to the Cersei starting. Oh, by the way, we're doing Knighthood League too at CQ. So Tori, you might want to look at that. But anyway, the key to that is to that starter is learning how to effectively use the wrecker. Marie Claude is interesting. She does interesting stuff, but she's kind of squishy for a knight, so you're going to want to keep her out of trouble. But meanwhile, you're also going to want to look at how to use the wrecker, when to use it offensively, when to use it to thwart other people's plans. It's a really interesting piece, and not a lot of people understand the wrecker, and that's part of the reason why people will tell you that the Cersei starter is a little more difficult for new players to get. Now, you already have the benefit of Malia, and you have so you got Malia and you have Suicide Queen. So you already have access to all the knights for Cersei, which is awesome. But I strongly recommend playing around with them, because you will pick up some differences in playstyle. Especially Suicide Queen's a very different playstyle. So you may want to look at that. So yeah. So now I'm just doing a little highlighting on the base while this stuff dries, and I wait to put some washes down. And I'm going to apply a highlight to the lighting on the base so that it pops a little bit more. So I'm going to do it like a sky blue on the base. I'll do that in just a minute here. Okay. Not too bad. Okay. All right, so now I need, I can even do like verdigris. I think sky blue would be fine though. Let's see what we got. Or even like Arctic blue. I may do Arctic blue. I'm going to leave that up to whatever I find first. And guess what sky blue I found? So we're doing sky blue as the highlight. I'm going to feel pretty good when con season is over, though. I'm pretty tired of the all the logistics into cons. I love cons, but I'm seriously considering just attending a con. So if I go to, so if I do end up at Strategicon Gateway in September, I will probably just attend. That might make some of the coordinators there a little bummed, but it's okay. I'll just tell them, hey, I kind of need to give me a con off, and I'll look at running something for you another time. Okay, so just a little bit of a highlight, very light highlight on this blue. Pretty cool. What do you think? Yeah? Pretty cool? Okay. Let's do the washes. And then we're pretty much done. I may hit it with an edge highlight, but we're pretty much done. I'm just going to paint the black lip in, and you guys can decide if you like, if you don't like. I think she makes a pretty cool Isabeau Durand. And again, because she's a dark character in Anima Tactics, it may not be readily apparent to you. GW mini case fits all my Cersei and accessories. That's awesome. All right. And what am I doing? Biltan green, or am I doing Athonian? No, that looks too muddy. Yeah, I'm doing Biltan green. And I think I will do a final line highlight on the model before I paint in the black lip. It's going to take no time at all. That's a white glaze. So I don't really want to glaze when I do this. I want it just a regular, well, actually, You know what I can do? Instead of doing that, I can at least get in a very, very fine highlight on the blue glaze. Let's do it. And glaze is still wet. So I'm gonna let it dry. I don't want to, what I don't want to do is I don't want to pick up any glaze that's setting up already. So you gotta be careful doing this. Cool. Okay. So yeah, you can see the model still looks pretty wet. Here we go. A little close up on the face for you. Faces are important on the model. Oh, come on, we just had it. No? Whatever. I'll take a photo, I guess, when it's done. Stupid camera, please. Ah. Ah. All right. Let's paint the black lip in. I think she looks cool. I can't wait to use her. I haven't been playing Shattered Sword recently, but should be fun. Maybe we'll use her in the Comic-Con demo. Actually, we wouldn't, because I don't want to confuse people with proxied models. Even though you should be able to tell looking at that model, looking at this model, and then looking at the character art card that that's who this character is. Green hair, white armor, blue cloak is a little hard to mix up with any other model in the Relic Knights range. So quiet. But yeah, pretty much done with the model. Ooh. There we go. Now you can see it popping. What do you guys think? Now it pops. Yeah? If I could get the camera to focus in on it. I understand that it's still wet and it will remain wet for a while. I may actually have to photograph it tomorrow, but that's what we're looking at. and it's fine. We're at the 2-hour mark anyway. But yeah, I like it. I don't think it quite got the look I managed to get on the Infinity model, but I am working with a much lighter palette. So um, that said, it looks pretty good. The cloak should look pretty good once it's dry. The highlighting on it looks kind of crazy right now while it's wet, but curious to see how it dries down. And then obviously you got the white, which looks pretty good. And then you got the base, which also looks pretty good. So quiet, we watching you paint. So we start putting stuff away. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know. Yeah, that was a fun one. We'll see if I have to come back, if she's not looking sharp enough. Now, the one downside to glazes is glazes are great if you've got broad areas and you're trying to pull or concentrate color, or try to build color slowly. They're not exactly great if you're talking about hard edges and that kind of stuff. So we'll see if I actually need to go through and do any line highlighting once the model is fully dry. But otherwise, I think we are looking pretty good. So I'm going to just start putting stuff away. That was a fun one to paint. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, though, while I'm here is over the summer, well, next week, obviously, no show because Comic-Con. I will probably, this year, I will probably not be running any feeds from Comic-Con. Just because we're in the Hyatt, I don't know what the Wi-Fi situation is like in there. In the mezzanine, I always knew how to set up, what we needed to do. But yeah, so I'm not going to be doing any live feed from Comic-Con. I may upload a video or two with just some daily highlights, but I'm not planning on bringing my laptop. Oh, I don't know, 5 days? Maybe I should bring my laptop. We'll see. But either way, I'm not doing a live feed next Wednesday. Just so you know, I may pop on. I think if I do a live feed next week, it would be Monday. I think Monday night I may pop on and just do a little painting with you guys, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah. So once again, this is Eve from Anima Tactics, and she is supposed to look like Isabeau Durand from Relic Knights, and I think she does. I think she does look like Isabeau Durand. She doesn't have there are some slightly different stylings to her, but if I were to put her on the table and say, hey, that's my Isabeau, I don't think anyone who is familiar with the art of Isabeau is going to complain. So anyway, with that, I think we are good to go. Thanks for the compliment, Daniel. Thanks, Tori, again. And Tori, I'll get in touch with you for more Comic-Con info or anything like that. But yeah, had a lot of fun tonight. Want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll do another update later on this, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again, guys. Good night.